Hello, and welcome to another episode of More to the Story. And this time, I know I said I wasn't going to do another Five Nights at Freddy's video. I did originally have something planned, but that idea had to be scrapped because the footage was unusable. And we are doing purely audio this time because I need to completely rework my setup. So what made me want to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's this time? The movie. The movie is exactly why. And I'm not, while I sound, at least I think I sound a bit agitated. The movie isn't what's agitating me. It's more so the fan theories and fan thoughts. Because it's a lot of lumping the game lore and hoping that the movie will answer questions in the overall timeline and lore of the game and books, when I honestly don't think it will. Now, why am I covering this on More to the Story? Well, it's because it's about story. It's about the story of the movie versus the story of the overall franchise of the games and the books. As of recording this, the final trailer for the movie has been released. I think it looks amazing. The animatronics look awesome. I think it's going to be a very fun little nod to the franchise while being its own thing. But that last bit I just mentioned about it being its own thing is what I think a lot of the fandom is kind of just bypassing. Like, they're not just overlooking it, they're completely ignoring it. Now, as a fan of the franchise myself, I'm a big fan of the games. Started reading the books, so still behind on the book lore, but been a big fan of the games for a while. I love the concept, but as excited as I am for the movie, seeing people talk about it, especially from like hardcore FNAF fans, part of the reason I make these videos is because I'm not just approaching this as a fan of these things, but also as sort of a casual fan, as a writer talking about the story, the importance of said story. And this is one of those times where story needs to be just approached as separate stories. As in, we need to approach the story of the main franchise, the games, the books, as its own timeline, as its own thing, and the story of the movie as its own thing. Now, my main problem with the way a lot of the fandom is approaching this is because they're not doing that. They are considering this a part of it. Because I mean, this is a movie that very much just sort of is a conglomerate of different aspects of the games and the story itself. Because you have Vanessa as a character, you have a very FNAF 1 type pizzeria, you have, as we've seen in the latest trailer as of recording this, the Springtrap suit. You have the first game animatronics. It really it really is just an amalgamation of all of these things. And what I think of this movie is that it's a love letter to the series. It is a love letter to this thing that so many people love. And the story, it seems very fun. It seems very interesting. Like, it definitely seems like Afton slash Steve Raglan, because, I mean, we've seen the cast listings. We know Steve Raglan, as listed in the trailer, is Afton. We know he is hiring on Mike, and Mike is taking his sister with him to this place. I honestly feel like the story of, just from what we can gather from the trailers, it's so good. It seems like it's gonna be so much fun, but people are focusing so much on the details that I feel like this is one of those times where we need to step back and be like, okay, let's let this play out. Let's let it pan out. This isn't one of the games. This isn't one of the books. This is its own entity. While there is certainly more to this story, the story of the movie, because we don't know if the animatronics are specifically under Afton's control. We don't know if there's like a separate villain because there has been a supposed mysterious female villain as of some cast listings, but we don't know if it's like a control that overrides the haunted animatronics. We don't know much about the full backstory of this. And that's what I love. I love that there is mystery to this still. Like this very much feels like jumping into the first game back when it came out, where you have bare basics of the lore when it would pop up, but you're not focused on it. I do think there is a lot to dive into that you could dissect from the trailers. Like, there is definitely a parallel between like different color schemes between Raglan and Mike in the phone call and just things like that. But there's also things that are just straight up told to us because it's basically saying, yeah, no, this isn't the games. This is based on the games, but this isn't the games. This is a fun, scary movie for a lot of people to see. This isn't just a movie for the fans of FNAF. This is a movie for people that love horror, the people that love B horror. Like this is for people that like things like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, all that kind of horror, the fun cheesy horror. This is for people who have heard of the franchise and are curious about the movie because they think it seems interesting. This is for people who have no clue about FNAF coming in and having to absorb a story that is based on these games. While, yes, it is a nod to the games themselves and the universe and franchise it's become, at the same time, it is not that same universe and franchise. This is its own thing, its own story. Yes, the game franchise and timeline is it's a mess. It's difficult to follow. It is complicated. It has things like Phasgoo, time traveling ball pits. This is a fun movie. This is a fun horror movie. I don't plan on doing a full deep dive into it because I want to enjoy it as a fan of those types of movies. But to treat it as if it is still part of the same timeline and as if it will answer certain things, instead of treating it like an homage and a love letter while introducing new people who have no clue about the franchise at all to Five Nights at Freddy's. I feel like that's kind of just alienating a lot of people. It's making it harder for people to really be like, should I see this? Because the more you explain FNAF in general, the more complicated it gets, and the more complicated it gets, the harder it is for a lot of people to follow. This trailer makes it seem like a fairly simple plot. Mike is looking for a job. He gets hired at this pizzeria to watch it. We're dealing with possibly haunted animatronics. We're dealing with the animatronics going rogue. They want to make his sister one of them. They straight up just give us the bare basics in the trailer. But to start like pulling parallels and being like, oh yeah, it's like this character is probably this this universe's version of this character, or this is that, and this is that, or this is hinting to that. It's like I feel like we need to just put all that on hold. Pause all that. Pause the theory work. Because as I will continue to say, I don't think this is going to help answer questions for the overall timeline of the games and the books. I honestly hope it doesn't. It's its own little world, it's its own little microcosm of FNAF lore. It's a love letter to the series. I think it's gonna be fun. So, I will see you guys whenever the next video is. I promise the next more of the story is not going to be FNAF related at all. I have a I have a Zelda theory video that I want to do talking about something related to Link. I've got the At Dead of Night one that I want to talk about because I definitely think there is more to the first floor storeroom that we need to talk about. But I definitely felt like we needed to talk more about the story to the movie versus the story to the games for FNAF. So if you like this video, leave a comment, thumbs up. If you want to see more, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. And I will see you guys whenever the next video is, because I don't have a schedule. Bye.